how to get your offer accepted in a competitive market. I had a client last week that was working with a different agent before and came to me to hopefully get some offers accepted. And we showed a home. And one of the important strategies that we took is kind of trying to be one of the earlier people in on the house. This house was listed on a Thursday. If you can get it under contract before that weekend happens, significantly will reduce the chances for multiple offers. So, and also I think having a conversation with them as well is going, if we can find something on a Monday or Tuesday that's made it through the weekend, is really going to greatly reduce the chances of that being a multiple offer situation. So we had a property that we showed on a Thursday morning, kind of as soon as it came available, and there was 3 other clients there with agents. So that day they had 6 showings. So we scrambled to put an offer together quickly, having a conversation with the listing agent. Hey, what's important to your seller other than terms of financial terms that may help your seller situation or my buyer get their offer accepted? So we identified that, put a strong, clean offer together. And my buyer, who had been working with the other agent, had lost out on a few properties. So they were used to having to do a few things, and they wanted to offer $10,000 over from the get-go. And I talked to them going, hey, if there's no offers on the table right now, let's leave it at list price. Let's put a really good, clean offer together. And let's see what happens. Once we get to the point of them having multiple offers, we can discuss on what best strategies we can take and which ones we can use that, one, protect both sides, I think, as much as we can protect the buyer and also make it favorable terms to be able to get accepted. So we had the offer submitted in, and I had a conversation with the listing agent and a conversation with the buyer. And I go, hey, if we were to pay $5,000 more, would you cancel the rest of the showings in the open house for this weekend? And the listing agent goes, yeah, let me have a conversation with my seller. And we ended up actually getting the offer done and put together before the end of that day, before the Friday showings happened, before the open house happened that Saturday. And my clients were so happy on a house that they were planning on paying, $10,000 more at the beginning. So I think in specific in that strategy, right, is kind of identifying what are the most important factors for the seller. How do we make it and put it together correctly for our buyers, right? But then also, had we gone to the multiple offer situation, let's say 3 or 4 more offers go in, right? Josh, you do a lot on the listing side. When you're going through multiple offers, which ones tend to rise toward the top, or what strategies are you seeing some buyers take?
And that all depends on a lot with what's the seller situation. Are we renting on the back end? Are we buying? So now is it closed? What's the most important terms? And having that communication with my seller, knowing what those terms are. So we can relay that to buyers that are asking the questions, bringing the offers in, and try to get the best terms possible. Then at the end, a lot of times it hopefully does just come down to price, but price doesn't always move the needle. Earnest money, is that sufficient for the price that we're looking at? 1% or somewhere around there, or even more in that situation. And then obviously the close date is very important to the seller. How soon or how quickly can I be out of the house? Depending on the situation, price is always that one factor. And then what type of financing terms are we is another, generally a bigger factor with it of, are we cash? Is it a conventional buyers at FHA, VA? And looking at how strong, if it's a financed offer, how strong is the lender at communicating with us? Is the buyer providing some sort of appraisal gap coverage? If the property weren't to appraise, we need to understand that, hey, buyer, you were willing to pay this. Are you willing to cover a part of that gap if the property doesn't appraise there? So understanding that and having that communication with the seller, the lender, and the buyer's agent to know where that's at. Another big one is, are you just asking for a home inspection? How quickly is that home inspection getting done? Are we asking for 14 days, 10 days, 7 days, 5 or 3? What are the days? And then there's a lot of times you see buyers, and we do this a lot on our team, is we will say, hey, we aren't going to request small item repairs, that some of the petty things that sellers don't like to take care of, but hey, we're not going to request an item underneath $1,000. So that eliminates some of that. We know it's kind of, hey, you do your home inspection, you're either buying this property or you're not type situation. So that helps kind of ease the buyer's or the seller's mind in that situation as well. So there's a lot of factors in there, but that's kind of your high points when I'm reviewing offers with the seller to determine what we're truly looking for, is running through those earnest money, price, close date, inspection, what's your financing situation? Is that lender commutative? Have they ran the full approval process? I had one, and the lender's like, yeah, they're fully underwritten. So we get a a good appraisal and we can close in a week, in that situation. Those do happen, and being able to have that information is very helpful to communicate with the seller to help them make the best educated decision.
On the buy side, I think a few of the things you're going to look for is, one is communication with the listing agent and the seller on time frame, items in the home they're willing to leave or not. Anything that may be out of the ordinary that could work other than financing terms, right? With that, past that, on the buyer's side is making sure your pre-approval is rock solid, that maybe it is underwritten, that your lender is having a conversation with the listing agent of how far along they are in the process, right? And putting together a really good, clean offer, right? With a shorter inspection time frame, the better, right? And I think those are things that put you in the best position possible to get your offer accepted.